Okay, so one thing to consider, this section is gonna focus on slope and graphs. So for linear equations, a big deal is slope, and that is commonly referred to as the rise over run. And in a linear function, we're going to talk about slope a lot because it's a constant rate of change, which is a rise over run. So consider the roof of a house. So I've kind of sketched out a roof of a house. So this looks like a house. Let me finish making it look like a house. So when we consider the roof of a house, the way that the contractors know how to make the house is they construct it with a rise over run. So this is a great example when we think about linear functions and a graph. So what I'm really looking for is the vertical change over the horizontal change. So um, consider the slope of um, this roof. So slope is really in the xy plane. We would say that is delta x over delta. Whoops, got it backwards. It's actually delta y over delta x. So it's delta y over delta x. Now, delta is the Greek letter for d, and it always refers to change in the y value versus the change in the x value. So now what that means is if I were to graph this, house on the xy plane, so I'm pretending that this house is on the xy plane where this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. Then to get from one point of the roof to the next point of the roof, I have to consider the rise over run. And so this is kind of like a straight line. So in order to get to this point here, which is actually 12, 8, and we're starting at the origin here, which is 0, 0. In this particular case, because it starts in the origin, I could just count the change in y, which is 8 units, versus the change in x. So this is like the change in x. We go from 0 to 12 in the x direction. And then this would be what we would call the change in y. Now I'm only focusing on this segment of the roof, okay? So if I wanted to find that, then one way that I could do that is I could just count it, or I could do the formula, which is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 all over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Now what that allows me to do is I would take and label this x sub 2, y sub 2. In other words, these are my second x and y coordinates. This is x sub 1, y sub 1. So I would literally be saying 12, oops, sorry, did that wrong. I would be saying 8 minus 0 all over 12 minus 0. And that would give me 8 over 12. If I divide the top and bottom by 4, then I would get 2/3. So my slope, my rise over run, is going to be 2/3. Now what that means is if I take any point on this line, like say this point here, and I go up to 1, like 1, 2, and I go over 1, 2, 3, I end up on the line. So I'm going up 2 over 3. From that point, if I go up 1, 2, and I go over 1, 2, 3, I'm on the line. If I go up 1, 2, and I go over 1, 2, 3, I'm still on the line. And if I go up 1, 2, and I go over 3, I'm still on the line. Okay? So this